Hey guys, so this video is going through a post-production template in Nuendo. I've got a very simple one. I'm going to deconstruct it. I'm going to show you guys how it's set up and why it's also useful for you to know that this is a very generic way of working. I've got my keycaster here where you can see the key commands that I'm pressing. So if you slow down the video, you'll be able to see what key commands I am using. I'll make sure that I'm going to make a separate video on the key commands that are useful for me and why I've been working on these key commands for roughly 10 years now. I've been trying to incorporate Pro Tools as much as possible in order to make it a seamless transition for me to work from Pro Tools into Nuendo and Pro Tools. Now, what you see in front of you is a finished post-production template. This template is pretty much a go-to standard for any post-production facility or a sound designer working in commercials. Now, I've got a lot of experience in commercials and advertising, and for movies, there is a much larger template in play, but I can also load in a movie here and continue a sound design job with an entire movie with this template. That's also possible. Now, what I want to show you is the deconstruction of the entire template. So I've got my tempo track showing. This is usually to see if there's music in the video and the Nuendo session. I like to synchronize with the music in the video in order to make sure that the grid and the click track are exactly on the money every time I'm working on a commercial. How to synchronize the session to a music track, something we can do together as well. Now, it starts with, and let me just remove some tabs, is inserting a marker track. So with the marker track, we're going to call this one mixes. In this track, you can see that you can have lots of different markers, but also something you would call a cycle marker. So I'll just select a region, I press L, it makes a cycle around what I've selected, I press home, and then video 1. Now that is where I would have my first video, not exactly there. Let me be a bit more neat. So if you are working with editors, they mostly always have their content at the beginning of the session. And in post-production, it's more common to start at one hour. This would be a day. We've got this on 1 hour. Now, the useful thing about having this on 1 hour is that usually with commercials and ads, you've got lots of different videos that you want to make a mix on, and you would get, for example, a 2-minute film, a 1-minute film, a 30-second film, and then 4 15-second films, 5 10-second. The list goes on and on. So that means that that this markers list could get pretty full. I'll just copy this marker later on in the timeline there. And let's do this. There. Now, as if we have 6 videos. Okay. Just wanted to double check that I'm recording. And when I open the cycle markers, so that is command numerical keypad 5, then you see a list of the position of where they are. It should actually be sorted by position. So you get IDs with this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now each video should be their own number. And this is how the cycle markers works with Nuendo in your template. Now, you don't have to have this in your template because it's always of where it's being pressed. I think that might be a good idea. This is just a way to navigate between, for example, video 1, and then we go to video 2, and then we can switch between them in order to compare them, in order to see what is needed on them, or any sound related things that you want to compare markers 1 and 2. Usually also markers 1 and 2, they because they're so small in Nuendo, you can add lots of stars in here, and then when you zoom out in your session, you've got clearer markers that you can move back and forth from. So that's a little thing, and because you will also be able to see them in the cycle marker list, all the videos, and then all the markers you're using. So if it's on video 2 and there's one marker on video 4, then you'll see that it looks like this in the markers window. So that's the markers. That's an important one that we use. Now, a video track. So we add a video track, and that one is under more tracks. We add the track, and in this video track, it's only the video that you can load in. Now, you actually add a stereo audio track at the bottom, and now whenever you drag in a video, it's going to drag in the video and the audio on this track. So you can give them a color. We can call this one film audio. And let's see, we give this color. I'm kind of sneaky looking at the template that we already have, just because I don't always reconstruct the template from scratch. Now, the important thing is that this audio track is going to directly to the stereo out. This means that anything that you do in your mix, anything that you create in your mix, because there's going to be a point where you want to add compression to your mix, that you want to add a limiter to your mix in order to glue music, sound effects, and voice and dialogue all together in one. And once you do that, what you don't want to do is you don't want to have your reference audio, because that's what film audio is, your reference audio. We don't want it going to your mix bus. So let me just show you the other tracks that we create. Now we've got record tracks. Depending on how your studio looks, depending on what microphones you have, the main record track that we will have here is, in my case, my podcast mic 1, and this would be Mac records. So those I'll make red because I know that I'll be recording into them. And for the podcast mic, I would just use the mic input, which I have set up in the template as well. I'm just going to show you the editor's template first, and then I'll make a separate video that goes into the control room template, because the control room in Nuendo via the audio connections, it's quite a complex setup for yourself, and I think that needs a dedicated video just to go through how the control room actually works and how the outputs aren't really used because the control room is taking over the outputs. Now, in terms of inputs, you've got all the inputs that you have in your studio. These are the inputs that you're seeing are standard inputs for my setup. But if you have a big studio or if you have more, then you can always update your inputs to match this. The same with your template. Now, because what's usually on a commercial or on an ad or on in a movie is you'll deal with a voiceover, you'll deal with dialogue, sound effects, atmospheres, and music. So what we have in the template are tracks that we make. So I usually like to have lots of VO tracks because when VO recording, you can have lots of different ones stacked next to each other, and you could potentially want to use that take and then or that take or a different take from a different track. So I like to have lots of VO tracks in order to have the flexibility to shift around with voiceovers. The same thing is with the dialogue track. Let me just get our normal template back. Video track, record channels. Now there's also a dialogue part in the template. So this would be for people that you see inside the video who are speaking, and you might have a dialogue 1 for one person, dialogue 2 for another person, and also common to name them to the people that you see communicating in the video. So it's kind of up to you. It's pretty useful to have the dialogue track also with lots of different tracks in order to make sure that you get the most flexibility with editing. Now, between Pro Tools and Nuendo's is that the sound effects are mono and stereo. So these are stereo tracks, but you can have mono and stereo tracks in. It's more divided in Pro Tools. In Pro Tools, you have to have specific mono tracks. In Pro Tools, you have to have specific stereo tracks. In Nuendo, it's just all one. So you can just grab a mono sound effect and drag that in here without any problem. Now, atmospheres are for the atmospheres that you see in the ad or in the video. One shot could be from outside a little down, and the other shot could be inside. So this is where you would usually have all the room tones, where you have all the atmospheres with birds and everything. Now, the music folder, that's also a music of one where you would like more than one track, because specifically at the beginning of a project, you might be looking around for a music track that comes from a music library, and you maybe have 3 or 4 different options that you want to have stacked underneath each other, underneath the film, and you want to be able to flexibly work with music. Or also, what's more common these days is using the stems of the music and just loading in the stems all into the music tracks here. Now, as you might tell, all these tracks, they go into their relative group. And there's a VO group, dialogue, music, sound effect, and atmos group. So that is what where they all get into, and the VO, dialogue, music, sound effects, and atmos group, they go into the mix bus. And the mix bus usually, in this case, just has a limiter on there. I'm using the Waves L3 Ultra limiter. And depending on how you want to mix your commercial, you can squeeze it a little bit, gel the voiceover and the music a little bit together, make the sound effects pop a little bit more in the mix. You can all control that from within the mix bus. And then the last little guy that we have here is the exports channel. And the export channel is for any audio that you export. Just when you look at the export window, After export, you choose create audio track. That will export the audio file into your session, and you just drag that into here, so that when you zoom out and you've got a very big session, you will always see the final export of whatever video and version you are working on. So this was my run through of the template. Please let me know if there are any things that you want to go into more detail of, if you want to see particular things about this template. For me, the most important thing is that the film audio is bypassing the entire sound effect and music chain, because this is what lots of beginners do, is they start adding compressors and sweeteners into the stereo out bus, so the final bus. And then when you want to reference your film audio that you get from the editor, then all of a sudden you are compressing the audio that you have received as well, and then you can't reference anymore what the difference is between what you receive from someone and what your own output is. So that's one of the most important things for me in a good working post-production template. And everyone does it in a different way. You can also not have folders and have everything underneath each other at the same time. Folders are useful. I like using folders in Pro Tools as well, just to make sure that it's a little bit more straightforward on, okay, I'm only going to work on voiceovers now, or I'm only going to work on sound effects now. And that was my run through the template. So this was the end of my templates video. And if you have any questions, or you would like to know anything else about what the template holds, or how you would do it differently, please let me know, and I can make a new video recording the template that way. Now, thank you, and please leave a like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.